Follow-up question. He asked which is more expensive to the taxpayer.
By far the death penalty. And this was one thing that really got my attention and initially made me change my stance on it. I think everybody knows the death penalty is expensive, but when you start digging into how much more expensive it is than life in prison without parole, they should be about the same, you would think, if you're comparing it, because
Right.
most people die on death row. The leading cause of death on death row is natural causes. So typically they are serving life in prison without parole. You would think they would mirror each other. But in reality, the death penalty is about 10 times more expensive than life in prison without parole. The actual data differs state to state. You can look up the state studies on deathpenaltyinformation.com and compare, but it's at least $2 million more per case. And the reasons are mostly tied up in the trial. It's not the appellate process. It's not the length of carrying out the execution like many people think. 70% of the cost of the death penalty comes from the trial alone, meaning even if the jury doesn't give a death sentence, the taxpayers are still paying a vast amount of money to carry out that trial. And the reasons for that is that the death penalty cases take place over two parts. So you have a guilt and innocence phase, and then you have a sentencing phase. You typically are hiring at least two attorneys, if not more, on each side. Most people do use public defenders. Those are more hours just by length alone that you're having worked by judges, by court staff, by prosecutors, by DAs. It's a longer jury selection process. You're typically doing bringing in more witnesses, which many people don't know. Many witnesses are usually paid when they're there to testify on behalf of the state. You're doing more lab testing. Also, labs are usually paid on behalf of the state. They're usually paid based off of conviction rates.
Right.
So there's a lot of problems with how they're paid and all of it, but all of that compounds and makes it vastly more expensive.
So they pay the witnesses to be there?
This is something I learned when I was working at the Beacon Center because we had a pro bono constitutional litigation firm that was attached to the Beacon Center. And we were working our way through a case, and I first learned that doctors or medical experts could be paid, I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars, to come in and give testimony on behalf of the state.
That's
right?
Like
really, really, really screwed up.
Yeah, I was like, that's criminal. It's not as bad as, murdering a bunch of people, but I mean, that's still criminal. Like,
but at the end of the day, our system is supposed to be set up to where it should be what? Better that 100 guilty people go free than one innocent person perish. But when you have incentives being paid based off conviction rates, and essentially you have people giving testimony, labs working on behalf of the prosecutor, that's not okay. That's going to produce bad results. And we're seeing that as we're getting further and further down the line with our wrongful conviction rates.
So,
hey everybody, if you liked what you just saw, be sure to subscribe to Muddied Waters Media by pressing the subscribe button just below me or pressing the little badge right here. It should be right here. You press that badge, you press subscribe, and then you press the bell to get notifications to your phone every time that Muddied Waters Media puts everything out, which is at least once a day.